Welcome to the Tokyo Hockey Show on the FIH YouTube channel with me, Sarah Juggins. It's day 6 of the competition at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, and today all the women's teams were in action, and the composition of the quarterfinals is certainly taking shape. Offering his expert insight and analysis today, and also making his debut on the show, is a coach of international renown. Cedric D'Souza had 2 stints as head coach to the India men's national team, but for the past few years has been honing the skills, talents and team culture of the Austrian under-18 team. And he's actually joining us fresh from success at the European Hockey Under-18 Championships. So a big welcome to you, Cedric. Hello.
Hi, Sarah. Pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you too. Now, we're hoping that we're also going to have an appearance from Alex Danson from Great Britain and England. I think she's been held up, and as this is a live show, we're just going to work around that. But I think Cedric and myself have got plenty to talk about after the action today. The first match that we looked at today, it was between the Netherlands, the world #1 side, and they took on South Africa, who were the lowest ranked team in the tournament. Now, it was a 5-0 scoreline, but it wasn't a 5-0 match, Cedric, you know, and I know that you in particular want to bring up the performance of the South African goalkeeper.
Well, I think, if you look at the Netherlands dominated the match completely with 43 circle entries penetrations compared to just 3 by the South Africans. But a team of that repute to have scored just 5 goals is for me found wanting, because 23 shots at goal, 18 brilliant saves by Bamambe. I mean, you got to just put your hats off to her and say, well done. She just kept the world most elite team at bay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, her defensive team around her, obviously, well, the whole team was working so hard to support her in that, but she is the catalyst for that performance, isn't she? And they must have taken enormous heart. As a coach, you walk back into the change rooms after a defeat like that, and you look at the scoreline, and you know that the history books are going to say 5-0, but you also know that under that 5-0 headline, there's a whole heap of other stories going on there. So how, once the hurt has diminished amongst your players, how do you get those players looking at the positives that you take from that game?
Well, the most important thing is that, the scoreline is finished. You lost 5-0. But the important thing is, did you play to your potential? As I always say, do your best and leave the rest. And to look at their goalkeeper playing the way she did, you can take heart that the team takes that to the next matches and beyond, because they found a wall behind them in case there's, shots at goal. And you've got to keep on harping on the positives and on the plus points and how they dealt with the top teams of the world. Look at the way they have less of culture of being able to travel abroad. They have less the finances to go abroad and play. So they have a limited kind of resources, and how they played with those resources is the important thing to dwell on as they go forward. They showed a lot of fight, and the competitiveness was what's the most important thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I think every match I've seen both South Africa women and South Africa men play has been hugely impressive. And as you say, you have to think if they had the opportunities that some of the other teams had, they would be right up there in the top 10, probably the top 6 or 5, wouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. You've got to play matches on a continuous basis, and you look at the top teams of the world, they play between 40 and 50 matches a year. Yeah. But the lesser known nations of the world, which don't have the kind of budgets and the funding, have played 10 or 15 matches, and then they go into it. But to come and play against the top and show that medal is what it's all about.
Yeah, I agree with you. Turning our attention to the Netherlands, the difficulty for me here is that I see a coach who's trying to balance the needs of conserving energy in a hot, humid condition, but she has to balance that along with making sure that her team is ready for the tougher challenges ahead. If you look at many of the Netherlands' rivals for the medals, they're already getting a chance to really stretch themselves, aren't they? And I'm thinking in particular about Australia, who had quite a tough game today and have had tougher games. How does Alison Annan make sure her team is ready for that next step?
I think you look at the quality of players that she has. She's got from 1 to 18, probably not 1 to 18, 1 to 35, put it that way. Brilliant players who can just step into the next player's shoes in case the person is not selected. But to have this kind of quality within you, they can raise the bar anytime they want to, at any time. And as you get into the competition and get tougher, it gets tougher, I think they'd come good, because She's only worried about the fact that they're giving far too many PCs, or they're just being a bit indisciplined in the way they are. Their structure is broken at times, and she's looking for perfection. That's Alison, if I know her. And she always says, keep the ball moving. Don't hold it, just keep the ball moving. That's what it's all about. So I think from that perspective, the quality of team that she has is absolutely top.
Yeah.
So, they will strike it when they have to strike it.
I must admit, I mean, their first goal signified that to me. The beautiful pass from Velton to Matler and then deflected into the goal. That was just the mark of a team that, when they wanted to, could put their foot on the accelerator. And I think that's actually what we saw at the World Cup as well. They had quite an easy march through to the quarterfinals, the semis, and then the final. And at every stage, they were able, as you say, just to put the foot on the accelerator and move up a gear. The next game to talk about is Great Britain versus India. Now, Great Britain, they got off to a slowish start in this tournament, but they did put in a result against India today. And they'll be feeling pretty good about themselves. But they have got the Netherlands next. What are your views on that sort of meetup? It's going to be a tough match for Great Britain, isn't it?
I think, if you look at today's match with India and Great Britain, I think, both teams played their hearts out, basically. Both had to try and get a win, running their socks off with chances at both ends. Let's be honest about it. And the capitalizing on opportunities with a strong defense is what wins matches.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And today, GB put in 4 against India. The possession was 52-48. So it was even Stevens almost. But the question was, Hinch saving 5 out of 6 tries at her. Maddie Hinch is Maddie Hinch. You know her. She's brilliant. Yeah. And Savita in goal for India is actually a really good goalkeeper who, has saved 5 out of 9 times, which is really good percentages also. So from that aspect, I think GB is growing into the tournament. And as she gets ready to play Netherlands, I think that game can go either way. On a given day, it's a question of performance. It's not a question of names. It's just a question of how you perform. And are you ready? Is the fire in your belly ready? Are you ready to go all the way? Is Maddie Hinch going to save us all the way? All that's going to be, everything is triggered off. And you have a wall at the back like Maddie, man, the players in front are so confident, they'll go for it. So it'll be a good game. It'll be really a tough match.
It'd be an interesting game, and it was nice to see Martin actually on the score sheet twice, because she has had a long time out from injury. So and her return, because she's such a flair player, will actually be quite a nice sort of trampoline for the rest of the team to bounce from. But let's just talk about India for a moment. I mean, I've been watching India women over the past few years, and they're obviously a team that's building and improving, but there's still just something lacking, I think, and I wonder whether it's a physicality, because they're quite small in stature. Is it that they just need to, perhaps, I don't know, just improve their fitness levels a little in order to make that next step up, or is there something else that you can pinpoint?
Well, I think if you just look at what I've seen of the Indian ladies over the last years, this team has done wonders for themselves. They moved really in the right direction. To have qualified after so many years, and then to take on the best of the world. For me, the biggest issue for India is a lack of patience. They're so skillful at times, and fitness is there. Okay, most teams at the Olympic level have to be fit, at this level. But the main thing is, how do you conserve energy? How do you utilize ball possession? Do you create that into more circle penetrations? Do you move the ball around enough? Do you still go 1v1, 1v2, 1v3, or you look for a player, open your vision, look for a player, get a second pass? These are the things which I think a little more work has to be done. But having said that, India has shown a lot of grit in this tournament. Against Germany, they had a lot of opportunities. They missed a stroke. But with GB, the most important thing for them is to go from this game with their heads held high, because in the last 3 matches, she's played really well, and she's got 2 matches to go, and still 6 points gets you into the quarters. So the whole thing is, it's not only a question of physicality in terms of stature and size, but I think it's a question of being patient with the ball and not hurrying it, not forcing it.
Yeah. And these are all things, as you say, all of these teams are building into the tournament, and they haven't had the international preparation that they would have had in previous years. So we're actually seeing large or huge learning curves for some teams as they're moving through the tournament. And that brings me really neatly onto Spain. who I thought today put in probably, well, definitely their best performance. It was feisty, it was energetic. They took on New Zealand, who have been playing well, and they looked good.
Well, I think, if you look at both the teams, New Zealand trying to cement its place as number one, try and get into the top, and Spain knowing that they had to win this battle. And it was a midfield battle, possession at its best, and passion versus a team which really the defensive structure of the Spaniards and the passion they put into it was you could see it. Okay, and the main thing was the goalkeeper Ruiz had a good outing also. So from you look at the keepers, they've had some of the blinding performances in this tournament. But I think from Spain's point of view, to have got that 2 goals from one PC deflection and 1 field goal by Iglesias was great. And and Smith getting the goal for New Zealand. But the most important thing is how they bottled up Olivia Mary.
Yeah, which is key, and it's something that a lot of teams are going to be looking at, definitely. I take your point on goalkeeping, because I think if we were to have a vote right at this instant for goalkeeper of the tournament, you've got a lot of contenders there, haven't you? I mean, you've got Aisha McFerrin from Ireland, you've got Maria Ruiz from Spain, you've got Fumalea from South Africa, Savita as well. They've all been playing really well, haven't they? And not always on the winning side, but certainly they've been putting some great performances in.
Yeah, having been a goalkeeper myself, I'm a little partial to keepers, but the most important thing is, for them to be standing and taking on the team, putting every effort into trying keeping their citadel clean as possible, giving the confidence to the players in front of them that, okay, I'm there, just go ahead, kind of stuff, commanding your defense, commanding the circle as best you can. I think, it's really difficult to choose which is the best keeper at the moment. But there's so many good keepers. And, it all depends also, one keeper against some opposition, Netherlands playing South Africa today. It was brilliant by the keeper, South African keeper. But Netherlands playing against Japan, hypothetically, will they have the same kind of opportunities?
Yeah.
So you can't actually gauge it exactly team for team, but you look at the saves per se, and the quality of saves. The South African keeper is really pipping it at the moment.
Let's turn our attention now to Germany versus Ireland. I thought that was a cracker of a game in every respect. I mean, Germany won, but it wasn't a walkover by any stretch of the imagination. Ireland really, really played well. But do you think, have Germany now attained that status where they've got the momentum going that will see them, do really, really well in this tournament, do you think?
Well, Germany plays a very structured game, and they persist. No matter what the scoreline is, they persist to the fag end of the match. They won't give in. And I've been the recipient of that, I know. Okay, so when we were one up against Germany, and we were one up against Germany in the Olympics, and 2 minutes to go, and they plugged us in the last 2 minutes, and it was a 1-1 draw. So I know this team too well. From this aspect, I think today, if you look at them, Germany had the possession stat between Germany and Ireland was 54 for Germany and 46 for Ireland. The score being 4-2, but for me it was a hard-fought battle. Germany's persistence in structure, versus Ireland's never say die attitude. I love that attitude. It's incredible. They took the battle to them right through this game. Okay, and they may have lost, but they are going through this tournament with so much confidence and so much belief in themselves. It's incredible from a little nation like that. They're just going all the way. It's lovely to see this. So from that aspect, okay, they may have lost, but they got a lot of highs to take forward. And Germany, I think at the moment are in the right direction, are in the driver's seat. They are playing their consistent hockey, the normal hockey what they play, and they probably will get through.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fascinating pool match when they meet up with the Netherlands. That's their final pool match before the quarterfinals. And if things go according to both their plans, they'll be unbeaten. They'll both be unbeaten. So that'll be a really fascinating matchup. Just talking about Ireland for a second or two longer. There's been talk that are they a one-hit wonder after their performance at the World Cup? But I think at this tournament they're proving that's far from the case. They won silver at the World Cup. Were they on one of those magical, momentous rolls? No, I don't think they are. I think these days you underestimate Ireland at your peril. And certainly, they've got a match coming up against Great Britain. And I think if Great Britain underestimate them, then they'll be in for quite a shock.
Well, confidence beats confidence. You win a silver medal and you take it forward, and the belief starts coming in it. And if you look at them, you look at all the press clippings, look at all the way they have worked ever since that World Cup silver. They're brimming with confidence. Okay, winning and losing is part of the game. Okay, how do you take that forward is the most important thing. And I don't think they're a one-off with the silver. I think they are there to stay. They will grow at this. There are more kids playing hockey in Ireland now with silver, and that takes the momentum forward in terms of getting a bigger player base for the future. And for people, there are skeptics all over the world, and they're going to say this. But for me, look at it positively. This team has shown some stuff. They're showing still, even though they've lost a couple of matches, and that's what just hear the comments that they pass. It's brilliant the way they say, yeah, we're ready for the next one. And I think the one with GB will be really good because they are neighbors and arch rivals, so that'll be good.
Yes, they know each other very well, those two teams. So it really is going to be interesting. The afternoon session, we saw Australia and Japan go head to head. It's probably Australia's toughest challenge to date. I thought Japan played with real flair and ambition, and they were quite lucky to come away on the wrong side of a 1-0 scoreline. Australia had to dig quite deep in that game, didn't they? So, what were your thoughts on the Australian team's performance?
Well, if you just look at Australia, they dominated the match basically, but fantastic disciplined defensive work by the Japanese team was what really came to the fore, and especially their goalkeeper Sano. I mean, she was another outstanding performance. Another goalkeeper. And although the score was just 1-0 to Australia, the possession stats were 52 to Australia and 48 to Japan. But for me, the question is, how much are you really, with that kind of possession, are you getting circle entries?
Yeah.
Having possession is one thing, but being able to get that into circle entries and then to a shot at goal or a PC or a save or whatever it is, that's the key issue. And I didn't think Japan had enough of that today, whereas Australia had a lot of it, So can Japan move forward? Yes, they can. They've got some players which have got brilliant vision. You see them, they get the ball. The first thing they do is open the vision, look around, who's available. And that's what it's all about, not the head down, it's open up the vision as soon as the first touch received, brilliant. So I think from a coach's point of view, I look at all these little points and it's fantastic to see not the very big nations, but the smaller nations I would consider showing some stuff, really showing some great stuff against the big nations of the world.
Yeah. I mean, I love watching Japan play. I've seen them in previous tournaments to this, and I just think they're such an entertaining side. And I'm sort of waiting for them to just take the world by storm, which in fact they did at the Asian Games, didn't they? Because they won it and it wasn't expected. One team that is sort of now finally looking a little bit more like it themselves is Argentina. They played China today. China weren't outplayed, but we did actually see Argentina finally scoring goals and looking like they were beginning to enjoy themselves. What were your thoughts on that match?
Can I just go back to Japan for a second, Sarah?
Of course, yes.
They have a coach called Xavi Arnau, great player from Spain, okay? And he couldn't go to Japan to coach the team. He was doing it on Zoom.
Yeah.
So can you imagine this team didn't have a coach and they were doing it on Zoom and he was watching them on Zoom. So, look at it. These are all plus points that they still can come out there and prove themselves. That's what it's all about. Regarding Argentina, you've got the coach in Carlos Retegui. I mean, that guy is a phenomenal person. I mean, men and women, anytime he'll do anything. He's a real hard taskmaster, and he gets what he wants from the team. And the score was 3-2. And for me, the question was, it was robust physical hockey with defense work at top levels today. Okay. And what came out was set plays in the end. The set plays were the penalty corners, which won the match today. Basically, Argentina had 2 PCs and 1 field goal. Okay. Whereas China had 7 PCs. No, they had 6 PCs and 2 goals. So basically, just look at it. There was some great stuff there. Argentina 7 PCs, 2 goals, flicked in, and China 6 PCs, 2 goals, which is really good. So the percentages of penty-corner conversion is also getting better. And for Argentina to get this victory was very, very important. Okay, very important for them.
Yeah, it was great to see Gorzalani on the score sheet with her, as you say, with her 2 penalty corners. The player that's possibly feeling a little bit fragile at the moment might be Delfina Marino, because she hasn't yet scored. She would expect to find herself on the score sheet. And to be honest with you, I don't think she's looked she hasn't really found herself in a dangerous position yet. As a coach, what would you be doing just to help her get over this little patch, do you think?
Well, the most important thing is if she starts thinking about only scoring, as a scorer normally does, then she's putting more added pressure on herself. So we got to elevate that pressure from her. We take it away from her. So how do you take it away and tell her, you may not be scoring, but you can do so much for the team in terms of assisting the team. So once you assist and you get into a position to receive another ball, the scoring will start again. But at the moment, the more you try and focus on going one alone, you're going to make it more and more difficult for you. I just had it in my under 18, so I know what I'm talking about. So the basic thing is there is pressure at all levels, especially when you're a striker of renowned and, great striker who has to score. The expectations are very, very high. Yeah. And that pressure gets to you. So how, as a coach, how do you take that off and make the player feel comfortable, and also to start getting, cool down and basically just pass, keep the ball moving, don't carry it, pass, receive it. That's the most important thing. Assist. And then you think not about I, but you think about we.
Yeah, in the end. Absolutely. Because if at the end of the day, we put a medal round our neck, actually what you did in terms of scoring goals fades into insignificance. Today's 2 men's matches, they gave us a bit more clarity. Spain were playing as if their very Olympic survival depended on the match today, and in fact it did. So I thought they were on scintillating form. So that's, the Spanish men and the Spanish women today, great form. Spain beat Japan 4-1. David Allegra, he's playing his 5th Olympic Games, and he scored. So that was absolutely brilliant. What were your thoughts on that game? That was a great game to watch, wasn't it?
Definitely. In terms of again, it was a do or die for both teams. Both teams wanted a victory at any cost to try and maintain themselves in the quarterfinal, the possibility for quarterfinal, and Spain came out trumps today. They hadn't shown much in the last games, and they really came out trumps. Possession stats almost even, 51-49 in terms of Japan having the highest stat. So for me, I always say, when you have possession, how are you utilizing that possession? Are you trying to get into the circle as quickly as possible? So for me, both the Japanese teams, the women and the men, they're going to use those percentages of possession and getting into the circle and more into the circle. The Spaniards, I think, they've got a brilliant defense. Them, they've always been a great defensive team in terms of how they maintain the defensive structure. And from that perspective, they didn't allow the Japanese that much of circle penetrations. But to have David Allegra playing his 5th Olympics, and oh my God, it's just to think about it, my hair stands just thinking about 5 Olympics, just being there once, and the most important thing is he's still great at what he's doing. And has the passion and has the fitness and has the drive. I mean, come on, it's a fantastic thing to see.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the only other person to have done that, to have played in 5 Olympics, was Toorn de Nooijer from the Netherlands. So he's in very, very exalted company there. And the good news is for Spain, that also keeps their hopes of a quarterfinal place very much alive, because they're now on the same amount of points as both Argentina and New Zealand. So it's a bit of a race to the 4 places there. In the final match, we've obviously got Australia playing there against New Zealand. They've played each other a lot in recent months, as they've been the only people they've really been able to play. An Australian player who's really been catching the eye for me is Tim Brand. He scored twice for Australia today. He also created one of the goals as well. That was a test for Australia, wasn't it, today?
Definitely. Apart from the fact that they are in the southern hemisphere, right in the corner, they can't travel distances of way too far to play matches. They've played each other quite a few times. They are arch rivals for many, many years, and they know each other so well. They actually played each other, as you said, recently, and the most important thing was you saw what you would always see in a match between New Zealand and Australia. Strong, robust, physical hockey with levels, loads of running, loads of high-speed running, skills at his best, and ball speed really, really fast. And from that aspect, Tim Brand, Blake Covers, my God, these are youngsters lacking sharp who are really, really strong. They've come in from the junior ranks, blooded well, come into it, now become top scorers. The ability to transfer a game from defense into attack in a jiffy is incredible. What these guys can do. Yeah. And I think, the game was 1-1 till 2 quarters. And then it opened up completely after that, which is really good because it shows the fight that is there. Okay, and Kane Russell for New Zealand has been another great player in terms of penalty corner flicks. And a lot of these guys I saw in the Junior World Cup long time ago. And I remember saying it's great to see these youngsters blossoming them into world-class players today and taking their country forward.
Yeah, brilliant. At this point, Cedric, I'm going to do the drum roll because Alex has joined us. Hi, Alex. Just take yourself off mute there, Alex, and we'll be good to go.
Hi, Sarah.
Right. Now, Alex, I'm really pleased to see you. We're just slightly into the show, but really good to see you. Cedric is here and he's been giving us a lot of very valuable insight. I'm just going to rewind slightly though, Cedric, and just get Alex's take on that opening game today. GB, what are your thoughts, Alex? How did they do today?
I mean, it's a fabulous result. I think it couldn't have gone off to a more perfect start with Hannah's goal. It's been so good to see so many of them on the score sheet. Hannah with a couple today, Lily on the score sheet, Sarah Jones. We had Ellia for a couple yesterday. It's nice, fast attacking hockey, and I know it will just build their confidence. You kind of come to the crux of the tournament, the really exciting. You could argue the more pressured side as you get to quarterfinals, etc. I think it's been a really good run-in for them.
Brilliant. Now, talking to Cedric earlier, we were just briefly talking about the next match that GB have got. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're asking. Do you know what? If you'd asked me that before the last Olympics, when we played them, I would have said they're tough to beat. It's going to be a really, really tight game. Now, obviously, it's still going to be those things, but everybody is beatable.
Yes.
The Dutch are beatable. Yes, they are a fabulous team. Yes, they have lots of strength and depth. So are we, and so do we. So does every team at the Olympics. And I think almost this Olympics more than any other, because of the change in preparation for everybody, actually the most adaptable teams will do the best here. And I think GB are a very adaptable team, and I think they've had an excellent preparation. So yeah, of course they're going to be tough to beat. Yes, it's going to be a very close game. Can they be beaten? 100%. So I think it's going to be a really exciting matchup.
Brilliant. Now, Cedric has done most of the analysis of most of the matches for us. Well done,
Alex. Cedric.
You missed that bit. But I've got a question for both of you now. A comment was made yesterday by Roger Hoffman on this show that the teams that are visibly enjoying themselves are the ones that are likely to do well. First of all, Alex, what are your thoughts on that comment? And under that, who do you think at the moment is looking in a happy state of mind or a happy frame of mind?
I completely agree with that comment. The only thing I would say with that comment is it's really dependent on if you're doing well, as to whether you enjoy it. If you're winning, of course you're going to look like you're enjoying it. So I feel like that enjoyment, that visible enjoyment, a bit of a luxury. It goes to the teams who are getting the performance results. That would be what I would say. I'd say enjoyment comes in many forms. So, oh goodness, I mean, if anyone watched me play, sometimes I must have looked like the most miserable, angry, like, I hate this game. I loved it, but I found joy and enjoyment in trying to win that competitive edge, but we didn't always win. So I guess I'm saying I completely agree with the comment, but I think it's quite a luxury to be able to visibly enjoy it unless you're getting the results. Now, saying that, I think, I can only talk about the inner workings of Great Britain hockey, because obviously I'm still very close to the team. I know there's a good sense of enjoyment to what they do. I know that's become a very important part of their programme, of what makes them tick. And that doesn't take away from that professional edge. It's just something that is important. Now, do I think that makes a difference? With this group, yes. Do I think it makes a difference to every group? No. It just depends on the individuals. But yeah, I think Great Britain definitely have that edge. I mean, I'd say Holland have it. but because they have the luxury of winning a lot. And I also think Ireland have brought that into their play. And I'd say, again, maybe that momentum they built through the World Cup in 2018 has afforded them that gift of really visibly enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when they sing their anthem, that sets the whole tone.
Oh, I love the Irish anthem. Yeah. I used to have to stop myself joining in. That and the Argentinian one, I want to be like bobbing up and down and Ireland, Ireland, together. I love it.
See, we're so glad you've joined us, Alex, even if it was a bit late, because we've got a song out of you as well. Cedric, same question to you. Which teams at the moment do you think look like they're there, they're on song and they're really enjoying things?
I think, when you look at it from a bigger aspect, the fact that the cancellation of matches, the tournaments due to COVID restrictions and all this, the players suddenly realize that they have the opportunity to play and to compete is also the big plus point. And that's why you see them happy about the fact that they can play. That's the first thing. Even though there's more intense competition and the desire to win, the restrictions have definitely made teams learn about respect. They respect each other much more than I see it this time when you look at them. And the fact is that, there was anger and frustration of yesterday, the fear of the unknown for tomorrow. But most important, they're aware of what's happening today. Yeah. And that's what they're enjoying. They're enjoying the today, which is so, so important. Mm-hmm. And for me, the teams, as Alex said it so brilliantly, it was a question of happy and adapting to a situation and performing. When you're performing, you're smiling all the time. Yeah. But the teams which haven't won all the matches, they're still smiling. And that's the most important thing for me, that they're showing they're happy within this pandemic, which has hit the world. I think that just the fact that they've been able to play and have the Olympics and enjoy every moment of it is the most important thing. Yeah. What's going to happen? Results come, results go, teams come. I mean, winning and losing is part of our sport. But to come off that pitch, smiling whether you win or lost, it's not the contention. The contention is you've given your best.
Mm. Now, I know you won't know this, Alex, because you haven't until this year had a chance to watch an Olympics. But I think that this is actually true across all the sports, not just hockey. This year, there just seems to be this real emotional outpouring from people because they weren't certain what was going to happen. And I think, it's true exactly what you're both saying about the hockey, but it's actually true across the whole Olympics. People are just so delighted to be playing and performing and doing their best, and to actually, to quote Simon Mason, the commentator, to join that elite group of people who can say, we are Olympians, which you two can, which is fantastic. Now, it's been a short, sharp visit from Alex, so I'm going to put you on the spot now, Alex. Players who are emerging as real stars to watch in this Games, have you managed to have a think about that, and who would you say?
It's been tough. I've tried to watch as many games as possible, but the middle of the night means I tend to only watch the GB games. Stars, I think I've said it already. I think Alicia McFerrin for Ireland is a fabulous player coming through. I mean, she's not perhaps, I don't know how old she is actually. She's probably not super young. I think she's a very, very good goalkeeper. I mean, obviously we've got Maddie, who is, at the absolute top of her game. There's some really exciting Dutch forwards. I always think Xander is a phenomenal player. I think she leads the team. She's absolutely fabulous in that position. She's the kind of powerhouse up and back. There is a forward for Argentina. Sarah, can you help me? Because I'm now trying to rack my brains and remember her name. Plays on the left.
Agostina Albertario?
Yeah, Albertario. I mean, okay, she's been around again, but I think she's been absolutely fabulous as this tournament.
Gozolani, who scored twice today.
That's who I'm thinking of, Sarah. Remind me of her name?
Gozolani.
That's what I'm thinking about. I think what an exciting talent, absolutely fabulous in front of goal, a real terrier. I'm biased. I look probably towards the forwards because it's the part of the game I was involved in and I love. I also, I don't think we've seen the best of everyone yet. Mm. I feel like all of the players and the teams, as you said, it's been a really tricky last year. It's been a 5-year cycle. Everyone's so relieved to get to the Olympics. I don't think we've seen our best hockey. I think that's still yet to come. I think everyone's had a couple of games now. Everyone's bedding in. And I think we're going to see more and more of our kind of superstars in inverted commas come through as we go through the elimination rounds.
And that's so exciting that you say that, because I have actually watched every single game for my sins, and I've been thoroughly entertained by just about every single one. So if it's going to get better,
yeah,
that's going to make it easy.
I just think it will get better and better, because they've been, as you say, fabulous games up to now. But I think as tournaments go on, it's just even more riding on it. Everyone plays on that edge, and yeah, it just gets better and better and better.
Cedric, we do have to wrap the show up as we're coming to the end of the show, but your thoughts on the same question. Who are the emerging stars, or the people who are making a difference?
I think, we always quite a lot of people look at the goal scorers as the emerging stars. And, we look at that. I look at what's happening at the back. Who's looking, Alex look at the PV. She's a forward. She likes to score the goals. I'm the defender. I like to save the goals. I'm the goalkeeper. So I think from Alexander Hendricks, I mean, he's a phenomenal penalty corner. The set plays exponents today are Hendricks. There's a boy called Rupinder Pal from India who's really scoring well. You've got the strikers and Fuchs and Ruhr, But for me, the little ones, which is Kenta Tanaka, brilliant. Yeah. Okay, Dayam Kasem, my God, from South Africa. What speed has that youngster got? For the Indian perspective, the people who are really the main savers and can change a game, the captain Manpreet Singh and the goalkeeper Srijesh. These are two people who can really change the entire game. From Argentina's point of view, you've got Leonard Blanco, you've got Kane Russell from New Zealand, but Blake Covers, Tim Brand. I mean, look at that team: Jeremy Hayward, Daniel Bean. Who do you want to call out? Who's going to be a game changer? I mean, there's so many game changers. For Belgium, my God, Hendricks, Arthur Van Doren, Vincent Van Aschen goal, John Domain. Can we go on? How many more do you want? There are a lot of game changers, and I think the most important thing, they are part of a team structure, and as long as they get the support from the team, the whole thing works together. The most important thing is TEAM, no I in it.
Absolutely. Great talking to you both. Thank you so much for spending the time talking to us. I'm going to leave you with one thought. I just wonder what the Hayward household is going to be like tonight, where we had Leon Hayward in the New Zealand goal facing his brother Jeremy Hayward in the Australian penalty corner team. And the other good news is we might just be seeing Alex tomorrow if she can make it across London from her training session, so we can get a few more thoughts from her. But Cedric, thank you so much for your analysis of the games today. Alex, thank you so much for getting here. And I know it's been a real rush for you, so thank you so much for that. Enjoy the hockey tomorrow. There's some enormous games to watch. Thank you very much indeed, both of you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Cedric. Thanks, Sarah.
Alex.
Bye-bye.
Bye.